The White House is rolling out the red carpet for Mexican President Felipe Calderon, and he is repaying them by trashing the United States and joining in on the Blame America First chorus that the White House seems to have perfected. Now, here's what the Mexican president had to say in the Rose Garden just yesterday.
We will retain our firm rejection to criminalize migration so that people that work and provide things to this nation will be treated as criminals. And we oppose firmly the SB 1070 Arizona law, given in fair principles that are partial and discriminatory.
All right, you know, the anointed one wouldn't let a Blame America First fest take place without him joining the party. Look at this.
I think the Arizona law has the potential of being applied in a discriminatory fashion. Now, after it was initially passed, the Arizona legislature amended it and said that this should not be carried out in a discriminatory way, but I think a fair reading of the language of the statute indicates that it gives the possibility of individuals who are deemed suspicious of being illegal immigrants from being harassed or arrested, and the judgments that are going to be made in applying this law are troublesome.
All right, well, with the president having paved the way, Calderon then jetted off to Capitol Hill to repeat his complaints. And here's what he told a joint meeting of Congress just earlier today.
I strongly disagree with the recently adopted law in Arizona. It is a law that not only ignores a reality that cannot be erased by decree, but also introduces a terrible idea using racial profiling as a basis for law enforcement.
Now, you may have noticed that lots of Democrats found that worthy of a standing ovation, including Secretary of Homeland Security Sherlock Janet Napolitano and Attorney General Eric Holder, both of whom have admitted they have not read the Arizona law. And joining me now with reaction to the series of outrages are from the Weekly Standard, Fox News contributor Stephen Hayes and immigration attorney Francisco Hernandez. Gentlemen, welcome back to Hannity.
Hey, hi, Mr. Hannity. Thank you for having me.
All right, let's start with this. Stephen, I want to start with you here. Think about this in the context that Benjamin Netanyahu, all right, our ally, the only democracy in the region, he comes to the United States, and look at how poorly he's treated. No state dinner, no fanfare, no photography, nothing. And he's left to his own devices in the White House for a long period of time. Explain this to me. Now we've gotten to the point here in America where leaders of other nations come here, stand next to our president, they dump on America and Americans, and our president joins in. Explain what's happening here.
I think this is truly disgraceful. You know, the problem with what happened today, I think, is that President Obama ran on a platform basically of a new national humility. He chided George W. Bush for going to other countries or for imposing America's views on the rest of the world. So we were no longer going to do that. We were going to spend our time listening. And yet when Felipe Calderon comes and lectures the United States, in the United States, on the floor of Congress, chastises us for laws that were passed in the state of Arizona that a governor signed, people who were duly elected. Obama not only says nothing to criticize Calderon, but senior members of his administration stand and applaud this kind of criticism. It's a rather shocking turn.
All right, Francisco, let me, before we're going to get lectured by the president of Mexico, why don't we take a look at Mexico's immigration law? Okay, let's put it up on the screen, and you tell me which is more draconian. Immigrants, for example, if you want to go to Mexico, cannot be an economic burden. They must be healthy. They must have no criminal record. They must show a birth certificate. Oh, where are your papers? Immigrants must provide their own health care. The government can ban foreigners due to race. Illegal entry is a felony. You get jail time, 2 years in prison if you go into the country illegally. If you re-enter the country illegally, 10 years in prison. Document fraud is considered a serious crime, punishable by jail time. The government can deport foreigners without any due process. Law enforcement officials at all levels are required, just like in Arizona, to follow through on the law. Here's my question. Before the president of Mexico comes here and lectures us on the south lawn of the White House, do you think he ought to maybe talk about changing his own law first?
Yeah, I agree, but we're giving him credibility, and he has less authority than the state of Arizona. We're playing right into the cards. If you really want to talk about what we want to do, is we're letting the tail wag the dog. We're letting this debate about Arizona talk about what we're going to do at the federal level. The fact of the matter is President Obama and Congress, both parties, could basically either preempt or uphold that law by enacting a single federal law. We're letting the tail wag the dog.
That's not what's happening. Stephen, I want to go back to you. That's not. Ronald Reagan never would have allowed this to happen if he were president of the United States. Ronald Reagan would have stood up for the people of Arizona. He would have stood up for the rule of law. He would have stood up for respect and the sovereignty of the United States of America. And this president, again and again and again, has shown an unwillingness to do so. And the question I have for you is why?
Well, I think, as I said, he campaigned on this. I mean, this was something that he was going to do. I think he's uncomfortable in fighting back when somebody criticizes the United States. We've seen this repeatedly. But I think, what's happened in Arizona really is quite different. Arizona is doing this as sort of a last resort. They are so frustrated. You heard President Calderon talk about criminalizing migration. That was his phrase. Arizona's not criminalizing migration. This is nothing new. It is already illegal to come here. By definition, that's what's happening here. So this is not anything new. He's misrepresenting it. He mischaracterized it on the floor of Congress by saying that it codifies racial profiling. And the administration, senior administration officials, including the vice president, stood up and applauded. Look, I'm actually fairly squishy on immigration. I'm for a dramatic increase in legal immigration.
That's not the issue.
But I find what's been happening here over the past couple days, over the past couple weeks, really appalling.
It's